My goal was for Essence magazine, Laura Randolph perceived in the larger publishing community as more than just a women's magazine.
Everything that Audrey touched at Essence really turned to gold.
After I had done a panel in 1983 at the National Association of Black Journalists, one of the people in the audience was the communications director for the United Nations Development Program. He ran up to me afterwards and he said, "I want to send you to my continent to write about the drought." It was like, wow, I'm getting on a plane to Africa.
You know, Essence in Africa, Essence everywhere that Black people are. And that's what made Essence so very exciting.
These fields should be carpeted with ripening grain. Instead, the farmer has sold his livestock to feed his family.
What does he think is going to happen to himself and his family and the other people in the village?
Hoping God, they're hoping that God will give them rain and grow more food.
I knew the power of journalism and the power of media. So that opportunity to report that story was certainly a win for us. The official that I met in the UNDP office said to me, "We have never had the United Nations pay for any journalist to come to Africa, ever." And that told me then the power and the reach of this Black woman's magazine in the larger world. It was a magazine that had international breadth and scope that made it different.
On the surface, it was a very beautifully produced magazine. It was very fashion-driven, it was very beauty-driven. But once you got past those front-of-book pages, it was really the crux of what Essence was about, and which really was the stories of triumph of Black women.
Susan had impeccable taste. We knew a good story when we saw it. Susan had found this article by Roger Witherspoon on being present when his wife had a miscarriage. And she said she wanted to reprint it. And I got so excited because it was such a gripping, personal narrative story. And I really believe that story changed the trajectory of the magazine in terms of bringing in good writers, writers who did what I call the personal narrative, stories that had emotion, that were real.
It wasn't just about turning the page and looking at pictures and seeing people. It was seeing what people were going through. Learning about diet, learning about someone who overcame an illness, being single or dating after 30, whatever those things are, they're just nice glimpses into life.
And I remember saying to editors, you can write about a paper bag. If it's well written, people will read it. Laura Randolph was this 22-year-old who sent in a piece, and it was this hilarious piece about dating men who were cheap. She became one of the regulars. She then went on to Ebony magazine as a senior editor. And then she did Patti LaBelle's 2 autobiographies. I like to say that I discovered her. The other thing that Essence did was start a column called Brothers. We had a brother writing about why he went to strip clubs. We had a brother writing about the first time his son beat him in a basketball game. He realized he was getting old. It was my favorite thing to do. You can write about anything. It just has to be well written.